अभी बोला, जस्ट अभी बोला।
अभी क्यों बोला? फोन करना चाहिए, क्यों देरी लगी?
सर हमें तो अभी पता चला।
बोल दिया एक जब प्रोग्राम जब लगे 4:15 लिखा है तो 1 घंटे पहले चालू हो जाएगा। ये भी मैं इसी टाइम करना
देना किसको?
May I request Dr. Adish Agrawala, President SCBA, and Mr. Sukumar Padjoshi, Vice President SCBA, to kindly escort Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, Honorable Mr. Justice Sarasa Venkatanarayana Bhatti, Judges Supreme Court of India, Mr. R. Venkatanarayana, Learned Attorney General for India, to the dais. Bhuyan. May I request Mr. Upendra Mishra to present a sapling to Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable the Chief Justice of India. May I request Mr. Manish Goswami to present a sapling to Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, Judge Supreme Court of India. May I request Mr. Anil Nisani to present a sapling to Honorable Mr. Justice Sarasa Venkatanarayana Bhatti, Judge Supreme Court of India. May I request Mr. Chanchal Kumar Ganguly to present a sapling to Honorable Mr. R. Venkatanarayana, Learned Attorney General for India. May I request Ms. Yugandhara Pawar Jha to present a sapling to Mrs. Sangmitra Das Bhuyan, wife, and Ms. Sweta Bhuyan, daughter of Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, Judge Supreme Court of India. May I request Mr. Bibhu Shankar Mishra to present a sapling to Mrs. S. Anupama Bhatt, wife of Honorable Mr. Justice Sarasa Venkatanarayana Bhatti, Judge Supreme Court of India. May I request Mr. Kumar Gaurav to present a sapling. Sorry, Mr. Tushar Mehta, sir, is not here. Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, Honorable Mr. Justice Sarasa Venkatanarayana Bhatti, Judges Supreme Court of India, family members of Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, and Honorable Mr. Justice Sarasa Venkatanarayana Bhatti, other Honorable Judges of Supreme Court of India, Honorable Judges of High Court, Mr. R. Venkatanarayana, Learned Attorney General for India, Mr. Adish Agrawala, President SCBA, Mr. Sukumar Padjoshi, Vice President SCBA, Learned Law Officers, Mr. Manoj Mishra, President SCORA, Mr. Sanasis Mukherjee, Vice President SCORA, Mr. Devbrat, Secretary SCORA, Mr. Manan Kumar Mishra, Chairman Bar Council of India, Mr. Apur Sharma, Executive Chairman Bar Council of India, Mr. P.H. Parikh, Dr. Vikas Singh, Mr. Rakesh Khanna, former President SCBA, Mr. Pradeep Kumar Rai, former Vice President SCBA, Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Mr. Ardhendu Mauli Kumar Prasad, former Secretary SCBA, Ms. Neena Gupta, Mr. Sombir Singh Jaiswal, Ms. Anandita Pujari, Members Gender Sensitization Committee, Mr. Atul Kurherkar, Learned Secretary General Supreme Court of India, other registrars, senior members and members of the bar. Very good evening to all of you. Now may I request Mr. Sukumar Padjoshi, Vice President SCBA, to kindly give his welcome address.
Good evening. Honorable Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India, sir, we welcome you. Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, Judge Supreme Court, and Honorable Justice S.V. Bhatti, Judge Supreme Court, on whose honor and to felicitate whom we all are gathering here. So I welcome you both, and we are happy that you are here. We'll welcome you to the Supreme Court. Learned Attorney General, Mr. R. Venkatanarayana, sir, we welcome you. Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court who are present here, and my friends, all of you, Sir Parikh Saab and Mr. Pradeep Rai, and all of you who have spared the time to felicitate the illustrious judges who have joined and were the jewels picked up by our collegium, which never misses the brightest talents in the country to adorn the benches of the Supreme Court. Justice Bhuyan, in fact, comes from a very illustrious background. His father was two-time Attorney General of Assam, Advocate General of Assam. And sir, in fact, is other than being in the profession as an excellent lawyer and known for his benchmark as in drafting skills as a lawyer, is also otherwise an accomplished tabla player and takes life in full, and is, I'm told from by his friends, that he is a foodie and a connoisseur of food. And so I think we'll gain some of this, in fact, if you invite us in some informal occasions. So, sir, we are more interested in that. Sir, in fact, Justice Bhatti comes from a very good background, and in fact is known for, as a lawyer, in fact, is known for his contribution to the field of environmental law, other than other laws which he specialized. And in fact, both the judges today who have joined have experience in more than one high court, because they, besides being chief justices, they also served as judges in different high courts, and they have one thing in common, that from where Justice Bhuyan came to Supreme Court, that was the starting point of Justice Bhatti, Hyderabad. So that was a common point there. And I welcome all of you, and sir, to both of you, wish a very fulfilling tenure, and we expect that every member of the bar gains from your enlightenment, experience, and guidance that you will be continuously giving to us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Venkatanarayana, sir, before I call you, I thank you for your concern towards the bar. You always take care of the members of the bar and their issues on priority. Being Attorney General for India, you are representing the Government of India and being a senior member of the prestigious bar. Sir, our expectations are very high from you regarding land, chambers, medical facilities, and all over welfare of this bar. With this, may I request Mr. R. Venkatanarayana, the Attorney General for India, kindly deliver his address.
And when the honorable judges take oath, there's a graha pravesh for them. But there is a housewarming ceremony. This is a housewarming ceremony, and where the bar is a house which welcomes the honorable judges, not only keeping their eyes on the career graph of the judges who adorn this court, but welcome you as part of the great common journey and adventure which the bar and the bench always engage in. It's always a pleasure and a delight to do this housewarming ceremony. Now, it was said about Justice Ujjal Bhuyan. My friend Ansari was telling me how to pronounce in Assamese language and the proper pronunciation. It makes a lot of difference. I make a wrong pronunciation, you feel a little offended by your name not being pronounced properly. So I was trying to twist my tongue to how really pronounce the name of honorable judge in the most appropriate way. And I think I'll do it in due course, but I suppose that Ujjal is the correct way of pronouncing it. And you have said that he is a good tabla player and an ace drafts person. I suppose drafting is also a matter of tabla playing, in one sense of the term. So when two skills are in combination, I don't think there's anything further to talk about the accomplishment of a honorable judge. I was just looking at some of the pronouncements which just Bhuyan has made in Guwahati, in Bombay, and then later in Telangana. These are very small measuring scales when we welcome the honorable judges here, because we think that with all their learning, experience, and knowledge they have gathered as a judge in different high courts. So Bhuyan has traveled from east to west, and then from west to the middle part of the country. And the other honorable judges have traveled from one part of South India to the extreme parts of South India. So these are very interesting ways where the legal culture of different high courts really inculcate the inclination in each honorable judge who visit all these high courts to pick up some of the best cultural, legal, and other practices in the country. So therefore, we have these two very honorable judges adorning our court in very interesting ways. I said I was just looking at it. It's not merely that when you look at the judges' career graph, whether they are part of a Vishaka or the Keshavananda Bharati. I think when judges look at the daily run of cases which you brush against, and your deep inclination to look at the small man's, as Churchill called the little man walking into the little cave with a little pencil, so the small woman and man, as Chief Justice always, Chandrachud always talks about it, the sensitivity in being able to attend to those small woman and man's concerns of daily bread and butter issues. I found that in quite a few judgments, both the honorable judges have addressed that. And that's a very important, reassuring thing for us to welcome them amongst us. I don't propose to talk about each and every one of the judgments. Probably when they would have contributed to the jurisprudence by being part of this court, we would have a later occasion and talk about it in a very, very different way. But today, as I said, the housewarming ceremony has a lot of warm smiles and people waiting to say clap and then welcome both the honorable judges in a very, very different way. I was just reading some of the farewell speeches given in the high courts before the honorable judges. But I think they are not probably the real index of what's probably likely to happen for the judges to be part of the institution. And I'm sure that every day passes, at the end of the day, we will look at their contributions and say, yes, yes, you are really here. And that's how I think we'd like to welcome both the honorable judges. And we have a very long career and journey with both of you, sir. Welcome.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. May I request Dr. Adish Agrawala, President SCBA, to kindly deliver his address.
Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Chief Justice of India, Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, Judge of Supreme Court and his family, Honorable Mr. Justice S.V.N. Bhatti, Judge of Supreme Court and his family, other Honorable Judges of Supreme Court, learned Attorney General for India, Mr. R. Venkatanarayana, learned Chairman of Bar Council of India, Mr. Manan Kumar Mishra, and Dr. Apurva Sharma, Executive Chairman of Bar Council of India, Mr. P.H. Parikh, former President of Supreme Court Bar Association, learned Additional Solicitor General of India, Mr. Rahul Kaushik, Mr. Pardeep Rai, Neena Gupta, Khanna Sahab, Savitri Pandey, Tanveer Khan, learned Advocate Generals of different states, office bearers and members of Supreme Court Bar Association, President of Supreme Court, Advocate on Record Association, Mr. Manoj Kumar Mishra, and other office bearers, officers of the Registry of Supreme Court, and my fellow colleagues. Today we gather not merely to celebrate two individuals, but to acknowledge the profound impact of their dedication, impartiality, and unwavering commitment to the sanctity of law. As the President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, it is both my honor and privilege to stand before you all and felicitate Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan and Honorable Mr. Justice S.V.N. Bhatti on their elevation as distinguished judges of the Honorable Supreme Court of India. These exemplary jurists have continuously fortified our faith in the judicial system and have been beacons of justice in its purest form. Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan's father, Mr. Suchendranath Bhuyan, was a senior advocate and Advocate General of State of Assam. Justice Bhuyan was the standing counsel of the Income Tax Department for 16 years. Further, he was the additional government advocate for State of Meghalaya for 4 years. He was also appointed as standing counsel for the Guwahati High Court in March 2010. Justice Bhuyan was designated as a senior advocate by the Guwahati High Court in September 2010. Later, he was appointed as the additional Advocate General for Assam in July 2011. He was elevated as a judge of the Honorable Guwahati High Court on 17 October 2011, where he served till 2nd October 2019. He was appointed as a judge of the Honorable Bombay High Court on 3rd October 2019 and remained there till 21st October 2021. Thereafter, he was transferred to the Telangana High Court on 22nd October 2021. His Lordship was elevated as the Chief Justice of Telangana High Court on 28th June 2022. This year itself, in the case of V. Vasanta Mogli versus the State of Telangana, as the Chief Justice, Justice Bhuyan, authored the judgment which struck down the colonial Telangana Act 1919. The act permitted the arrest of any transgender person without a warrant. Further, it mandated the registration and control of units in the state. Justice Bhuyan described the act as manifestly arbitrary because it criminalizes the entire community. He stated that the act violated the Article 14 and 21 as it offended the right to privacy and the right to dignity of transgender persons. On 5th July 2023, our Collegium of Supreme Court recommended Justice Ujjal Bhuyan as a judge of the Supreme Court. The Collegium gave particular importance to his expertise in taxation law in the recommendation. The Honorable President of India appointed Lordship as a judge of the Supreme Court of India on 14th July 2023. Justice S.V.N. Bhatti enrolled as an advocate on 21st January 1987 and started practicing in Andhra Pradesh High Court at Hyderabad. During his practice, he served as standing counsel for Hindustan Shipyard, Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board, Indian Maritime University, Bharat Heavy Electrical Limited, Bharat Electronics, etc., and also served as special government pleader from 2000 to 2003. On 12th April 2013, he was elevated as additional judge of the High Court of Andhra Pradesh and served as judge of High Court at Hyderabad for the state of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh until bifurcation and establishment of High Court Andhra Pradesh at Amravati on 1st June 2014 and continued to serve at Amravati till 18th March 2019 and upon transfer from 19th March 2019 he served as permanent judge of Kerala High Court and chairman of Kerala High Court Legal Services Authority. His Lordship was appointed as acting Chief Justice of Kerala High Court on 24th April 2023. His Lordship was appointed as Chief Justice of Kerala High Court on 1st June 2023. His Lordship was appointed as Judge of the Supreme Court of India on 14th July 2023. As specialist in environmental law, Mr. Justice S.V.N. Bhatti has special legal interest in civil laws, labor and industrial laws, and constitutional matters. During his tenure as a judge of the Kerala High Court, Justice Bhatti had passed important judgments related to practice of registration of vehicle in Pondicherry for tax benefits, collection of TDS from the income earned by nuns, power of the state government to regulate the sale of lottery tickets issued by other states, and the 101 constitutional amendment on GST. I heard so many good things about Justice Bhatti from my friends and bar leaders. I first met Lordship at Kerala High Court at Kochi on 8th June 2023 when I was felicitated by Kerala High Court Advocate Association on my election as President of SCBA. I found he is really a gem and God-fearing person. When the Collegium of Supreme Court of India recommended his name for Judgeship of Supreme Court, I felt that the Honorable Chief Justice of India and his Collegium have taken a right decision. I am confident that both the Honorable Judges who are being felicitated today will add great value to this highest court of justice. I am sure that their relentless pursuit for ensuring complete justice up to the last man in the line for justice will continue till the last day in office. My lords, the Honorable Chief Justice of India and other Honorable Judges of Supreme Court of India, I must commend and express gratitude of the bar for having accepted most of our requests during my tenure. Some of our pending requests will be fulfilled with the cooperation of Honorable Supreme Court and the central government. I take this opportunity to point out one urgent problem being faced by the bar throughout the country. Many bar leaders from various parts of the country have informed me that the internet and telephone connectivity in the court complexes is very weak because of the provision of holding and attending court through video conferencing is ineffective. I found that lawyers are facing difficulties in communication due to poor internet and mobile connectivity inside court complexes in India. Immediate action such as taking instructions from the client or urgent researches also cannot be done due to poor connectivity issues inside the court complexes. I request the Honorable Chief Justice of India to give directions so that there is proper internet and mobile connectivity in all court complexes by installation of more mobile towers and internet boosters. I thank the Honorable Chief Justice of India and other members of the Collegium for these appointments. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Honorable the Chief Justice of India, sir, before I request you to deliver your address, we'll have to thank you on behalf of this bar and its members for mentioning on the Independence Day that the Supreme Court Bar Association is not only limited till the premises of Supreme Court. Rather, we are apex bar and bar of the nation, representing lawyers from every corner of this country. We once again thank you, sir, for recognizing our efforts and contribution towards the legal fraternity. With this, may I request Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable the Chief Justice of India, to kindly deliver his address.
my colleagues, the distinguished judges of the Supreme Court, Sri R. Venkatanarayana, Learned Attorney General for India, Dr. Adish Agarwala, President SCBA, Mr. Sukumar Patijoshi, Vice President of SCBA, Ms. Rohit Pandey, Secretary SCBA, Office Bearers of SCBA, Mr. Manoj Mishra, President SCORA and Office Bearers, the distinguished members of the Bar Council of India, Mr. Praveen Bhai Parekh, may I respectfully refer to you as the President Emeritus of SCBA. Members of the bar, officers of the registry, and of course, families of both my distinguished colleagues, Ms. Sanghamitra Bhuyan, Ms. Shweta Bhuyan, who has come here all the way from Mumbai, where she is doing her PhD, and Ms. Anupama Bhatt. First, let me begin by addressing a few thoughts to all the young juniors in the latter part of the auditorium. This is a privilege which you can only have for a few years of your career, because as you progress in life, you will come more and more to the front, and then you miss out on all the fun and games which go on in the last few rows. What is the function? What is the significance of these functions? Why do you have these functions where you welcome incoming judges? When we were appointed as judges of the High Court, we rose to become judges of the High Court from the bar of the High Court. So all the members of the bar knew us. We had practiced with them, we had been briefed by them, we had appeared against them. So everybody knows everybody. When judges come from the High Court to the Supreme Court, they have spent at least a decade or more, maybe sometimes 2 decades, a decade and a half away from the bar, because they've been judges of the High Court for anywhere up to 16 years, as in my case, and more than a decade in most other cases. So there is this little gap between the time that you were practicing here. All of us have practiced before the Supreme Court, briefed lawyers in the Supreme Court, and I'm sure Justice Bhuyan and Justice Bhatti did so. But the importance of these functions is for us all to realize that though we are seated on this side of the bench, we are all part of a common mission in this institution, and we are tied together in one noble object of furthering the cause of justice. So whether we are members of the bar, whether we are judges who don this role until the Constitution bids us farewell, it's important for us to realize that there is a certain degree of solidarity between the bench and the bar. And that solidarity is that we stand together for one cause, irrespective of affiliations of religion, language, caste, ideology, in one mission and one mission alone, which is to render justice to common citizens. And therefore, particularly for the younger members of the bar, it is important for us to inculcate these values which have ultimately sustained the Supreme Court and enhanced its reputation as the court at the forefront of the judiciary in the nation. But few things first. I welcome Justice Bhuyan and Justice Bhatti to be judges of the Supreme Court. As I said a few days ago on the occasion of the Independence Day, the aim of our judiciary is to increase access to justice for all the people in our country. Elevating competent judges to the Supreme Court, especially judges who have dedicated years of their lives and decades to serving the Indian judiciary, is one way to enhance the dispensation of justice. On this occasion, I'm reminded of a well-known couplet. शुक्रिया तेरा तेरे आने से रौनक तो बढ़ी, वरना ये महफिल ए जज्बात अधूरी रहती. Justice Bhuyan comes from Guwahati. He practiced before the principal seat of the Guwahati High Court as well as before the Agartala, Shillong, Kohima and Itanagar benches of the High Court. Brother Ujjal has had a long and illustrious practice at the Guwahati High Court, where he served as a standing counsel for the Income Tax Department for 16 years. Throughout his practice, Justice Bhuyan was a respondent's lawyer. But he always says that his practice was always petitioner-oriented. This has emerged from the time that he spent as a judge of the Bombay High Court, my own parent High Court, where he headed the tax bench for a considerable period of time. As a tax judge, as a judge heading probably one of the most sought after and complex benches in the Bombay High Court, the tax bench, with the high value disputes coming there, Justice Bhuyan distinguished and acquitted himself very notably, and he was an extremely popular member of the bench. As I always say, the bar in Mumbai, like in the Supreme Court, is so global and cosmopolitan. They don't really bother about what your background is, where you come from. They welcome you with open arms, provided you're willing to work hard. And I dare say, as in the Supreme Court, lawyers are not attached to the outcome of their cases. They know that most cases decide themselves, and lawyers have this innate understanding of where the balance of justice lies. Justice Bhuyan, I was very pleasantly surprised to learn, has distinguished himself as an amateur tabla player. That adds to the repertoire of talent in the Supreme Court. Just in the coffee lounge today, we were discussing about the wide talent that we have, apart from judicial talent on the bench. Brother Amanullah is one of the judges who has donned a flying license. So we now have, we know, somebody who has a flying license or had a flying license and was competing with, and another colleague who has been competing with Zakir Hussain. Justice Bhuyan served as a judge of the Guwahati High Court before being transferred to the Bombay High Court. He was Chief Justice of the Telangana High Court. He has traveled from the far east to the west, then to the south, and finally his journey has brought him up to the north. Justice Bhuyan spent 2 years in the Mizoram High Court. He spent years there training the bar, mentoring the bar. So he has seen the legal profession from different perspectives. He's a judge who knows and understands the Northeast, together with being aware of the working of the Indian judiciary across the nation. During his tenure, Justice Bhuyan has worked towards enhancing access to justice by emphasizing on the delivery of quality legal aid services and live streaming of court proceedings. I'm sure that all of us at the Supreme Court will draw upon the experience and expertise of Justice Bhuyan. Justice S.V. Bhatti is a native of Madanapalli in Chittoor, Andhra Pradesh. As a lawyer, Justice Bhatti had a special interest in environmental law, civil law and labor law. He served as a standing counsel for many PSUs, including Bharat Heavy Electricals and Hindustan Shipyard. In 2013, he was appointed as a judge of the Andhra Pradesh High Court, and later he served as a judge and subsequently as a Chief Justice of the Kerala High Court. Even when he moved from Andhra Pradesh to Kerala, he took that move with a great deal of equanimity, and which really shows his great emotional strength. Justice Bhatti has acquired considerable experience and expertise in various branches of law during his long career as a judge. Our brother Bhatti likes to call himself a family man. He considers his wife Anupama and their daughters Vishnavi and Akhila to be his pillars of strength. Justice Bhatti's elevation to the Supreme Court is in many ways a culmination of his decades of hard work, perseverance, experience, and dedication to the cause of justice. Justice Bhatti's elevation to the Supreme Court is also significant in many ways. For one, it reaffirms that this court is not a Supreme Court of, may I say, Maharashtra or Delhi. This is the Supreme Court of India. And our aim here is to ensure that this court reflects the diversity of India. And I believe this has been one of the missions of the Collegium, to ensure that we represent the richness and the diversity of India. Many people have been critical of the Supreme Court for being a polyvocal court. But let us look at the flip side. The reason why we are a polyvocal court is because no two judges are similar. Here you have a judge from Maharashtra sharing a bench with a judge from West Bengal to decide a matter arising from Haryana. This is the true essence of the Supreme Court of India. It is not a polyvocal court, rather, the Supreme Court is a people-centric court. Each judge of the Supreme Court brings their own unique legal experience and expertise to the table while deciding issues of law. People will start trusting the Indian judiciary, as they do, only when they see a reflection of themselves in the people who dispense justice. In that sense, we have to and continue to reflect the mirror image of our own societies. Ultimately, the Indian judiciary is a career service, and it is our responsibility to ensure that competent professionals, both from the bar and from the bench, get elevated to the Supreme Court. The elevation of Justice Bhuyan and Justice Bhatti has undoubtedly brought significant value to the Supreme Court. As I conclude, I would like to quote the following lines of Firakh Gorakhpuri. बहुत पहले से उन कदमों की आहट जान लेते हैं, बहुत पहले से उन कदमों की आहट जान लेते हैं, तुझे ए ज़िंदगी हम दूर से पहचान लेते हैं. I wholeheartedly congratulate Justice Bhuyan and Justice Bhatti on being elevated to the Supreme Court and wish them all the very best. One of the problems which judges of the Supreme Court face when they are appointed here is that there are no places to stay. In the High Courts, you have your own homes when you're appointed as a judge of the High Court. But here we had a problem where judges who are appointed to the Supreme Court have to live in one room or two rooms of a state southern for 6 months, 7 months, because of the inadequacy of housing. And yet there is no let-up in the 75 SLPs which the Chief Justice assigns on every Monday and Friday. The area of accommodation is no answer or excuse, but we have tried to tap that by providing transit accommodation recently to our judges, because it is our endeavor that when a judge is appointed to the Supreme Court, you must feel that sense of belonging, that you will walk into a place which is commensurate with your status and dignity as a judge of the Supreme Court. So this is the flip side, from the judicial side. Mirrors what you have done for our colleagues before and now, and I would really like to compliment the SCBA for continuing this great tradition of inviting newly appointed judges, to felicitate them and to remind our newly appointed colleagues that they are part of you and your heart. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Lordships, आप दोनों के लिए, आप यहाँ आए हैं, ये खुदा की रहमत है. कभी हम आपको तो कभी अपने घर को देखते हैं. ये हमारे बार की किस्मत है. Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, sir, we are delighted to have you on the bench. Sir, when you practiced as a lawyer, you were loved by the bar. And when you started your journey as a justice, your relation with the bar was always cordial as you were helpful. With this, may I request Honorable Mr. Justice Bhuyan, Justice Supreme Court of India, to deliver his address.
Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, my esteemed colleague Justice Bhatti, Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court of India, learned Attorney General Mr. R. Venkatanarayana, Dr. Adish Agarwala, Senior Advocate and President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Mr. Sukumar Padjoshi, Senior Advocate and Vice President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Mr. Rohit Pandey, Honorary Secretary of the Supreme Court Bar Association, all the office bearers and executive committee members of the Supreme Court Bar Association, distinguished members of the Bar Council, members of the registry, distinguished senior advocates and members of the bar, Mrs. Sanghamitra Das Bhuyan, Mrs. Anupama Bhatti, Ms. Shweta Bhuyan, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to all of you. At the outset, I must thank the Supreme Court Bar Association for organizing today's function to felicitate the two of us. I started my career as a lawyer in the Guwahati High Court in March 1991. My father was a practicing senior advocate in the Guwahati High Court. Though he never forced me to take up law as a profession, but I could see that he was immensely happy when I decided to become a lawyer and finally became a lawyer. During the days of my father, one had to serve as an article clerk in the chamber of a lawyer. Law graduates had to enroll themselves as article clerks in the chamber of advocates. On completion of clerkship, they were required to appear in a chamber examination before the full court. In 1957, he joined as an article clerk in the chamber of one of the leading lawyers of the times, Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed. When Fakhruddin Ali Ahmed joined the Assam ministry as finance and law minister, my father continued and completed his clerkship in his chamber under the tutelage of one of his juniors, Mr. M.C. Pathak, who later on became the Chief Justice of the Guwahati High Court. In August 1958, the full court of the Guwahati High Court comprised of Chief Justice Sarju N. Prasad, Justice Gopalji Mehrotra, and Justice Holiram Dekha. My father had appeared and cleared the chamber examination, whereafter he was conferred the license to practice law on August 18, 1958. This was before the Advocates Act was enacted. When I joined the bar, I wondered as to whether anybody would come to me to seek my professional assistance. With small and nervous steps and with a lot of ups and downs, I gradually developed my practice. I still remember one matter where I had assisted my father. It was relating to extension of fishing lease right and the related challenge to an order of fresh settlement in favor of the respondent. The writ was moved by my father and we had obtained a stay. After he became the Advocate General, the party wanted me to continue in the case. The respondent had filed an application for vacating the stay. On the eve of the long vacation, in those days we used to have long vacations starting from the 6th day of the Puja festivals up to end of Diwali, almost 6 weeks. The learned single judge vacated the interim stay despite my earnest plea to defer the hearing to after the holidays so that I could engage a senior. Learned single judge declined my request, and after hearing the matter for some time, he vacated the interim stay on the ground that after expiry of the lease period, petitioner had no right to continue fishing operations. I thought it was a great professional setback to me, and for a long period I could not reconcile to the fact that I could not save the stay on the last working day before the holidays so that my client could have had some more time to continue fishing operations. I was totally distraught. It seems one of the senior advocates had noticed my condition, and when the courts reopened after the vacation, he called me to the senior's room and told me that you cannot be too sentimental in court. He said, you should be prepared for all eventualities. You must have the skin of a rhino. In our place, rhino is a comparable, so everything compares with a rhino. Looking back, I must admit that it was a correct order passed by the learned judge. An important milestone in my professional career was my appointment as a junior standing counsel of the Income Tax Department in July 1995. I must say that I was a novice at that point of time so far income tax laws were concerned. While shaking my hands, the then Income Tax Commissioner had wondered aloud as to whether I would be able to do income tax matters as I did not have any tax background. I told him I will try. During those days, a reference used to be filed under Section 256 of the Income Tax Act against the order passed by the Income Tax Appellate Tribunal. Under subsection 1, a reference application used to be filed before the tribunal itself for making a reference to the High Court on a question of law arising out of the order of the tribunal. If such a request was declined, then reference application used to be filed in the High Court under subsection 2 of Section 256. Later on, this provision came to be replaced by providing for appeals to the High Court under Section 260A involving substantial questions of law. Whether it was filing of reference under Section 256(2) or an appeal under Section 260A by the revenue, invariably opinion of the Junior Standing Counsel was sought for. As Junior Standing Counsel, I had furnished a number of such opinions. One day, a couple of years later, I was pleasantly surprised to receive a letter from the Income Tax Commissioner congratulating me. In his letter, he had said that my opinion for filing appeal was found to be one of the best in recent times by the Central Board of Direct Taxes. This not only made me very happy, but I felt immensely vindicated. In due course of time, I became the Senior Standing Counsel of the department. The High Court also reposed great faith in me by making me its standing counsel and also designating me as a senior advocate. One Friday evening, on October 2010, I received a call from Mr. Nair, the PPS to the then Chief Justice, Justice Madan B. Lokur. He told me that I should meet the Chief Justice the next morning. So when I met Justice Lokur on that October Saturday morning 2010, he offered me judgeship of the Guwahati High Court. I requested him for a couple of days. I went back home and discussed this with my father, as I was in a dilemma whether to accept the offer or not, since my practice at that point of time was on an upward trajectory. My father told me that when the Chief Justice makes a request, it is not his personal request. It is an institutional request. It's a great honor, and what one should never say no. He said, we all owe a duty to the institution, and when the call of duty comes, one should never say no. Instead of 2 days, I sought an appointment with the Chief Justice on that evening itself and conveyed to him my acceptance of the offer. But as usual, there was delay. When the warrant finally came, we did not display any extreme urgency to take oath immediately. I remember the notification was issued on 10th October 2011, and I took oath as a judge on 17th October 2011. I utilized this time to seek the blessings of my family members and seniors. I also went to Chandigarh to meet Justice Ranjan Gogoi, who was then the Chief Justice of Punjab and Haryana High Court. During that time, Justice Gogoi was suffering from a serious ailment and was in PGI Chandigarh. Despite his sickness and hospitalization, he met me in the hospital itself, where he was recuperating, and he blessed me. On the eve of my elevation, I received a letter from Justice B.P. Saraf, who was a friend of my father and a fatherly figure to me. Justice Saraf was appointed as a judge of the Guwahati High Court and then served in the Bombay High Court for a long period, including as acting Chief Justice. Ultimately, he retired as Chief Justice of Jammu and Kashmir High Court. In his letter, he wrote, most litigants approach the court in distress. Never be a negative judge. I have preserved this letter jealously and these profound words have been my guiding light in my journey as a judge. During one of my earlier days as a judge of the Guwahati High Court, I had read all the briefs which were listed before me the next day. As a new judge, I had meticulously made notes the evening before, and in one particular matter I noted deserves dismissal. Next day in court, when the matter was called upon, my former colleague and good friend Nishitendu Chaudhary, he appeared and argued for the petitioner. His short submission was so effective and persuasive that I ended up not only issuing notice but also granting ad interim stay. This was a big lesson and an eye-opener for me, right at the threshold of my career as a judge. First and foremost, I realized that while one should go through the case papers before coming to the court, one should not read it in such a manner that you make up your mind. Secondly, a judge must always have an open mind. As I say so, I am reminded of what Justice A.K. Patnaik, who was my judge in the Guwahati High Court, used to say. While deciding a case, his mind used to swing like a pendulum before finally reaching the conclusion. Thirdly, I realized the importance and effectiveness of oral hearing. While written arguments are no doubt very useful, I am of the considered opinion that those cannot be a substitute for oral arguments. Nishitendu went on to become a judge, but unfortunately, 3 years into his judgeship, he died in tragic circumstances. After almost 8 years of judgeship in Guwahati High Court, I was transferred to the Bombay High Court. Under somewhat difficult circumstances, I left for Mumbai. However, my colleagues and the bar at Mumbai embraced me with open arms. From day one, I never felt that I had come from a different high court. The bar and my colleagues in the Bombay High Court were outstanding. Soon I started asking myself why I did not come to the Bombay High Court earlier. My 2-year stint in Bombay was a transformative phase in our lives. It was thereafter I came to Hyderabad on transfer, and in due course, I was elevated as Chief Justice. Our stay in Hyderabad was most memorable, and the judicial work in Hyderabad gave me great satisfaction. The love, affection, and the respect showered upon us at Telangana completely overwhelmed us. From the east, I came to the west, and from the west, I came to the south, and from the south, with the blessings of Lord Venkateshwar, I have come to the north. It has been a long journey, but nevertheless a very satisfying one, though the journey is not yet complete. I have no regrets. As I look back, I can only say that we as lawyers and judges and as human beings are always evolving. We learn and gain by experience. Nothing is permanent. No one is indispensable, whether in life or in law. We all are transient except the institution. Therefore, it is the institutional interest alone which must be the sole and only consideration, nothing else. Friends, I always believe in the cordiality of relationship between the bar and the bench, as both are like the two sides of a coin. Without the other, dispensation of justice is not possible. I firmly believe that what transpires in court is nothing but a dialogue. It is a debate. In such dialogue and debate, civility and occasionally humor are essential. By its very nature, court proceedings cannot be uncivil. Civility is a must in court. It ill behoves anybody, be him a lawyer or a judge, to shout and scream in court. The greatest asset of a judge is the trust and confidence of the bar. It must always be remembered that respect can never be demanded. It has to be earned. by one's conduct and performance. There is no place for arrogance in the world of justice. Friends, while judges decide cases argued by lawyers, in the ultimate analysis, it is the lawyers or collectively the bar who are the judge of judges. Public perception of a judge, or for that matter the court, is very important. As Justice Frankfurter had famously said, judiciary has neither the purse nor the sword. It has only the moral authority, which is based on public confidence. And I may add, according to Lord Denning, that public confidence is destroyed when the right-minded go away thinking that he was not heard or that the judge was biased. Therefore, in each and every case, it is the judge who is on trial. As observed by Lord Atkin, justice is not a cloistered virtue, and she must be allowed to suffer the criticism and respectful, though outspoken comments of ordinary men. Our Chief Justice, Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, in his recent article published in the Indian Express on Independence Day, has emphasized that a judge must encourage dialogue and adopt an approach towards the law which is compassionate and humane. He has written, there lies behind the nuances of legal arguments in every case a story of injustice and human suffering. As lawyers and as judges, we must be alive to this, as we are all answerable to our judicial and constitutional conscience. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to say a few words before this august gathering. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. We are sure that you will keep guiding us with your compassionate grounds throughout your tenure. And we sincerely hope that with your cooperation and guidance, the bar and bench will take its steps towards the all-over betterment of the legal fraternity. Now, Honorable Mr. Justice S.V.N. Bhatti, sir, we welcome you to the bench, and I am sure that your 26 of years experience as an advocate would benefit the members of the bar, and we will be guided towards the greater good. And may I request to deliver that.
Honorable the Chief Justice, Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, Justice Bhuyan, my esteemed brother judges, learned Attorney General for India, Sri Venkatanarayana Garu, the President and the Executive Committee members of the Supreme Court Bar Association, all the learned advocates, other dignitaries present on the dais, of the dais, my salutations and good evening, one and all. I am deeply humbled and profoundly honored by the felicitation of the Supreme Court Bar Association on my elevation as a judge of the Supreme Court of India. I thank the President, the Executive Committee, and the Supreme Court Bar Association for this felicitation and the good words spoken about me. The company of lawyers, and when the audience is from the fraternity, one tends to become talkative and also humorous. I am conscious that the time is now 5:30 p.m. and we all know what this 4 p.m. fatigue is in court hearings. Neither the lawyers have the usual ability to argue with the same force. At least I confess, at 4 p.m. I will not have the same patience to hear which I may have at 10:30 a.m. Keeping this in my mind, I will not trouble you with my long journey from Madanapalli to this place. Dear all, as how the able lawyers take the time of the court at 4 p.m. and say, just 5 minutes, Your Lordship, I will complete. I will only take a few of your precious time. I started the journey as a trial court lawyer in my native place, Madanapalli. The journey from a trial court lawyer to this position has given me exposure and experience of the difficulties of litigant public and the ordeals faced by the lawyers who represent the litigant public in the courts. With the experience, I have measured the demands of my elevation as a judge of the Supreme Court. I know what it means to be a judge of the Supreme Court of our country. The duties, responsibilities, functions, and expectations. I am also conscious that the judges of the highest ability, integrity, and erudition are adoring and have adored the office of this court. On elevation as a judge of the High Court of Andhra Pradesh, in my felicitation speech, I delivered the briefest diction. I said, as a judge, I have the responsibility of protecting and enforcing the rights of my citizens, and I have to decide the disputes which are presented before me. Having said this, I solicited the cooperation of the bar members to enable me to discharge this simple but an arduous task. I repeat the same commitment on this felicitous moment and additionally keep in mind the precedential value of the judgments of the Supreme Court to the administration of justice in our country. Dear all, I will make every endeavor in adhering to the defined path of a judge. The Supreme Court is the highest court of law of our country. In equal measure, the Supreme Court Bar Association has been the seat of great learning and an abode of intellectuals, jurists, and academicians. The Bar Association, while felicitating with good words, suggestively informs me about the expectation the fraternity has from a newly elevated judge. The bar sets the agenda of performance of newly elevated judge. I understand you all, and with your good cooperation, I am confident to discharge my duty and assure not to leave a debt to the office I am occupying. Thank you for the time and your patient hearing. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. It will be our privilege to assist you during your tenure. Now may I request Dr. Adis Agrawala, President SCBA, Mrs. Sukumar Padjoshi, Vice President SCBA, and members of the Executive Committee to present a mementos and sketches on the behalf of the bar to Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan, Honorable Mr. Justice Sarasa, Venkatanarayana Bhatti. May I request Mr. Minesh Dubey, Joint Secretary, SCBA, to kindly deliver vote of thanks.
Thank you, Rohit. We are grateful to Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chanchud, Chief Justice of India, for accepting our invitation to preside over the function. We are grateful to Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan and Honorable Mr. Justice Sarasa Venkatanarayana Bhatti, Honorable Judges, Supreme Court of India, for accepting our invitation. We are grateful to the family members of Honorable Mr. Justice Ujjal Bhuyan and Honorable Mr. Justice Sarasa Venkatanarayana Bhatti, Honorable Judges, Supreme Court of India, for accepting our invitation for gracing this occasion. We are grateful to Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court of India for gracing this occasion. I wish to thank Sri R. Venkatramani, Learned Attorney General for India, and Sri Atul M. Kurekar, Learned Secretary General, and other Registrar of the Supreme Court. I wish to thank Sri Manoj Misra, President, and other Office Bearer of SCORA, and Sri Apurv Sharma, Executive Chairman of BCI. I wish to thank Sri P.H. Parekh, former President, and Mr. Rahul Kaushik, former Secretary of SCBA. I wish to thank members of the bar and print and electronic media persons for gracing this occasion. I also wish to thank all of the members who have joined us online. I request all the distinguished guests to join us for high tea. I request EC member to come on dais for the photograph.